Step into the captivating world of the Behind the Curtain podcast, where your dynamic hosts, John Dyer and Dr. Mohammed Saleh, bring together a wealth of 60 years of combined experience in healthcare and manufacturing. Join us every week as we delve into intriguing topics, weaving unscripted conversations that promise to take you on an unpredictable and enlightening journey. Gain valuable insights for your continuous improvement adventure as we navigate uncharted territories with enthusiasm and expertise. Welcome to a podcast that goes beyond the ordinary, unraveling the mysteries behind the curtain of knowledge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Curtain. With you, I'm Mohammed Saleh and my co-host, John Dyer. And today we're going to talk about and pick up from where we left off last episode on employee participation. And employee participation is a very big topic, and you see a lot of initiatives almost in every organization I've ever talked to around employee engagement. Yet a lot of times people don't really make a dent in it. And so I want to dive a little bit into today, and I know John and I have been talking about this for years. So John, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, in my book, The Façade of Excellence, I highlight this as something that people do where they want to make it look like they're doing team-based continuous improvement, but are they really, right? I mean, in other words, how sincere are they about getting the employees engaged? Now, part of that is what's the current situation within the organization. If you've had decades of bad management practices and lack of trust and employees and management fighting each other every step of the way, and then all of a sudden you have a change of heart and you're like, oh, we need to start getting our employees engaged and we want to ask for their help. Well, what do you think their reaction's going to be to that, right? When you've had years and years and years of lack of trust, and now all of a sudden someone in the leadership ranks does a Gemba walk and shows up unexpectedly into that particular employee's space, how are they going to react to that? Well, think about it, right? First reaction is going to be, why are you here? Who are you and why are you here? And then it's going to be fear, right? Oh my gosh, have I done something wrong? Am I about to be fired? Are you out here because you're spying on us to try to understand how to dig up dirt so you can get rid of all of us? Is that why you're here? And then it's like, well, okay, once you get past that and you're like, no one's going to get fired. We really want to sincerely start, understanding what your problems are. Then it's like, well, then why? What are you going to do with it? If I tell you what my problems are, or even give you ideas on how we can improve, how are you going to use that information? Are you going to try implementing some of my ideas, and if they fail or don't work the way it's supposed to, then you're going to blame me, and that way you cannot take the responsibility as the leader? Is that why you're out here? Is that why you're trying to get our involvement, is so you can pass the buck from you to us? Yeah. Is that what it's all about? So again, your first foray into this new world of asking employees for their ideas and for their help may not go as smoothly as you think, because again, you're trying to overcome possibly decades of bad management practices and fear and lack of trust and all this sort of thing. So the bottom line to all this is keep chipping away, keep chipping away, keep chipping away. And I tell you, I think the tide will start to turn the moment that employees first see that you're really sincere, second, that you're truly engaged in their idea generation and their thoughts and what their issues are, and then third, when they start to see some improvements actually happening. It could be minor, it could be small. Hey, why is my workbench way over there when I need my tools right here at the machine? Well, we can move that, oh, wow, okay, that was something minor, but it shows they listened, and it showed that maybe they truly do hear what I have to say.
Yeah, you just I had a few thoughts, and as you were talking, I want to kind of visit a different thought now that I think is helpful in this conversation. And when I was interviewing one time a young lady from Toyota who ended up being on my team. I had a team of 30 practitioners, and she was one of them. And during the interview, we talked about respect for people and how do employees get motivated at Toyota, and what do they, when she hears the word respect for people, what does that mean to her? And she came back with three different bullets for me that I've carried in my life ever since then. And the first one is that the leaders role model a certain set of behaviors. They're curious versus judgmental. They're in the moment when you're talking to them. They show empathy. They have discretionary effort, are willing to do the little things that need to be done. They model what good looks like to them. And that was a key aspect of motivating the employee, to see your leader is disciplined around a set of behaviors. And the second one is that she talked about the individual creating a win-win scenario, that she knows her leader has her back. And so she knows any conversations they have with one another, it's intended to make her win. And so it's not trying to use her as much as grow her or gain for her. And that was the second one. And the third one is that that leader always made her feel uncomfortable. Every time she grows a little bit and feels like she's out on a limb and being stretched and feels like she's going to fall, they don't hold her hand. They let her go to the edge, but they never let her fall. And then when she looks back, like, wow, I grew a lot this year under this person's mentorship. And the year after that, I grew double amount. And so she's like, if someone has a disciplined set of behaviors, they're always creating a win-win environment, which I feel I could trust that individual. And I'm always being stretched and grown. That's an individual that would motivate me to want to participate in this company. And so when you talk to HR people, and I'm not saying any of these programs don't work, but you have some common themes. We're going to do surveys. That's kind of a thing that they do. We're going to do an employee recognition platform. That's another one that they kind of roll out. Personal development plans, which is a good one. But if it's used with sincerity and not a check in the box that you're doing because HR is telling you to do it. We're going to do a bunch of team building exercises and a mentorship program and an onboarding program and regular one-on-ones. These are all a list of HR tactics that you'll see rolling into an organization. A lot of these tactics have a lot of merit, but they have to be baked into these three things. My regular one-on-one is to help you grow, to give you feedback, to be vulnerable with you. It's not checking the box because HR is telling me I have to do one-on-ones with you, that, so what do you want? Or I use the one-on-ones to finish some unfinished business. You'll see that a lot. And I'm not using the mentorship program so that I could be, I could be leveraged as, hey, I'm the one that knows more than all of you, and so I'm going to be mentoring you guys. But more of a humble leader that says, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need you guys to teach me. And in return, I'll teach you what I know. I don't know operations like you, and I'll teach you leadership. And we could exchange that. There's something you know that I don't know. There's something that you don't know that I know, and we could exchange that. So once you start leveraging those, I call them respect for people principles, you might get motivation. You will get motivation, but if you do them in silos of tactics, it really doesn't go anywhere. And so a lot of surveys come out. There's an action plan. You see a bunch of town hall meetings being set up, and the employees are like, year over year, things don't happen. And when the employee says, one of the things you could do for satisfaction is give me a raise, you lost. Because once money's on the table, then they're not motivated anymore. They're now looking at something different than wanting to grow the company and have pride in what the company's doing.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been a judge for Industry Week magazine's best plants competition that they have every year, right?
Yeah.
And so we get reams and reams of data and from these various applicants. And it's funny how you'll read in some of them glowing right up at the beginning about how much they value their employees, they value the teamwork, and all this and this and this. But one of the first metrics I always like to look at is their employee turnover rate, right? So here they have this glowing thing about how we care about our employees and we're just all one big happy family and man, everything is great. And then you get to employee turnover and it's 48%, something crazy. And it's just like, okay, that was all a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
It was just all a bunch of smoke because why are if you're treating your employees so well, if they're engaged, if they're, fully on board with what you're trying to do, why are they leaving in droves? And sometimes we'll do follow-up questions with these folks and it'll be things like, oh, well, there are lots of industry around us and they're hiring people
Poaching
away,
us.
And it's like, well,
Yeah.
well, why? I mean, if they're so happy,
Why would they leave?
why would they leave? And it's like, and so that to me is one of the biggest red flags, is that, hey, we say that we're treating our employees with a lot of respect, but it's not really happening. The other thing that what you just said triggered with me is, one of Dr. Deming's 14 points that's always been the most controversial, is to abolish management by objectives. But he says to replace that with leadership, right? So what you described in your 3 points from the Toyota worker is what I would say falls into that category of providing leadership, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you have this particular department that you're overseeing. All right, well, instead of giving you goals and objectives to hit, I want you to make that the best it can possibly be. And I will work with you every step of the way to mentor you, coach you, provide you what resources you need to go to the executives to get, funding, whatever. And we're on this journey together, but our objective needs to be, or our vision needs to be that within 2 years, I want this to be the best department that this company has ever seen. How can we get there?
Yeah.
And see, and to me, that actually is more impactful and more effective than saying, oh, your management by objective for this quarter is to get quality up by 2%. That's not very inspiring. That's not very, motivational. Versus, what? We may only get it up 1% this quarter, but if we're on a trajectory to get us to world class by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, then that's okay. And boy, but that takes, I mean, that's so far out of the norm,
Yeah.
right? That we're used to. We're used to managing people by giving them, these objectives. And if they don't meet those objectives, then we give them bad performance reviews. And if they get enough bad performance reviews, they're out the door. And it's just, we're not giving people a chance.
Yeah. When we talk about employee participation or employee engagement, sometimes I'll get a list of people that should be in a Kaizen event. And I'll ask just some basic questions. Why did you select these individuals? And a lot of times they're just kind of drawn from a hat. Like there's no strategic approach of, hey, this person needs to build their decision-making skills. So we're going to put them in this Kaizen as a vehicle to build that skill. This person, we need to grow their leaders intent. So we're going to put them in here so they could grow leaders intent. And then sometimes this is in one of the prior companies I worked in. I started saying, hey, one of the things that you need to do is to develop your people. So we should set up, they should have coaches, and these coaches should help them on this journey. And after a few months of doing that, I had the HR person, the head of HR, come to me and said, Mohammed, you can't use the word coaching here. Coaching here is viewed as something punitive. Like only when someone's being written up do they get coached. And that told me that this is a culture that doesn't develop people at all, to the point that the word coaching, these people are so foreign to the word development that development is only needed for someone who's weak.
Right.
So how are you going to ask them to participate if it's not linked to growth, their own development? So it's you have to find a way in your organization when you're doing this. If you want employees to participate, make sure that you as a leader is role modeling certain behaviors. Make sure that they trust that the reason they're in this is to help them, and that you have their back, and make sure that it's intended to grow them in something. And without one-on-ones, you don't know if they're growing or not. And so, yes, now the one-on-ones become meaningful. Without Gemba walks to do regular check-ins on rituals and stuff like that, then you don't know if you're making progress in that. Without being vulnerable and knowing that you're not perfect either, they're not going to open up. And one of the next few episodes that we're going to talk about when it comes to two-way communication and open communication, we'll dive more into that. But I think a lot of people expect employee satisfaction to go up just with a bunch of tactics, and there's no operating system behind it to bring it to life.
Yeah, you've hit upon some really good points that one of my favorite questions to ask leaders is, in general, how do you view your employees, right? And it's like, well, you'd be surprised. I've actually had a couple of them say, well, they're a necessary evil, or boy, if I could replace them all with robots tomorrow, I would. Or yeah, we just expect them to get things done. We don't expect them to think. I've actually had people say those kinds of things to me, and it's maddening, right?
Yeah.
So because if you think about it, your objective as a leader really needs to be, how do you unleash the power of hundreds of brains, that of people that are out there every day doing the work, but haven't ever really been asked for their thoughts or inputs or ideas. And what a horrible waste of a resource, right? So if you think how crazy it would be if the organizations stopped looking at leaders of particular functions or departments as, how well did that department meet these objectives, but instead flipped that around and said, all right, how much did your people grow this year, right? How much, or even this quarter, how much did they grow? How much did they improve their skills of problem solving, of scientific thinking, of working as a team, of getting to the root cause, all those kinds of things, and measure that, as the performance indicator of the leader, not what the quality is or what the delivery is or what the throughput is, because and this is where that leap of faith comes in, right? It's like, hey, if you've got really good people working on really good processes, using really good material and machines and equipment, the others will take care of itself. You'll get good quality, you'll get good throughput, you'll get good safety. But we have it flipped. We have it backwards. Oh, we're going to measure you on how you did performance, all these performance indicators, and not even think about how to even possibly measure how much did your employees grow this quarter.
You hit on something really critical, and I don't know how the world is going to view this, but I feel it's necessary. Is if you're able to measure people's development as the key behavioral indicator in a company, and being able to then equally measure their number of ideas per employee that were completed, not just generated, None of these two come accidentally. They require a lot of rituals behind the scenes to make that happen. Like you're not getting ideas, you're not doing enough waste walks, you're not getting recognitions, you're not doing enough employee engagement walks, you're not getting standard work updates, you're not doing standard work observations. And so we talked about leadership, but if you flip it, say, hey, I'm going to measure you as a leader of your team participation stuff. How many problem solving efforts did you do? How many growth did people have? Because if you do those, if those metrics move, your employees means that they're participating. And if they're participating, I bet you all the metrics are moving in the right direction.
Right.
But if you focus on the metrics, you could shortcut that without doing any of these other things. But then people are gonna not be motivated, they're gonna leave you.
Right. Or it's a facade, and you'll end up cheating or fabricating. You know, think about this, right? We talk about Gemba walks, right?
Yeah.
And I know that the power of a Gemba walk is that the leader will then know what the problems are and can help, break down those barriers and get things solved. How many machinists are on Gemba walks with you, right? How many quality inspectors or how many assemblers do you take on Gemba walks with you? So in other words, is the Gemba walk purely for the leader to say, I'm in charge, I'm here to help you, peons, with your insignificant problems, and I'm here to check a box that says that, yeah, I care about my employees by going out every day and walking the process? Or do you use Gemba walks as another tool in your arsenal to help develop people and say, hey, Joe over there on the machining, the nuts and bolts for us, come with me. I want you to go on a Gemba walk with me over into this other part of the factory so that you can help improve your waste viewing skills, identification skills, because developing our people is our number one objective. How different would that be for your organization?
Yeah. I think that's solid. And I think as we start looking at employee participation, knowing that it's critical that in these rituals that we understand that we're measuring the right stuff, and that we're finding ways to develop people in problem solving efforts and idea generation, but also in engagement efforts around just constant recognition. We talked about shared values, to communicate the shared values that we all share, the vision of where we could go. And most importantly, when people come up with an idea, to understand how that impacts the big picture, so that they know they're building something great and they're part of something great, and we wouldn't be there without them.
All right. Well, we'll pick this up again next week, continue our discussions on employee engagement. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
As we draw the curtains on another fascinating episode, we wanted to express our gratitude for joining us on this enlightening journey. If you're hungry for more captivating and thought-provoking discussions with John Dyer and Dr. Mohammed Saleh, hit that subscribe button to ensure you don't miss a beat. Until next week, keep exploring, stay inquisitive, and stay inspired. See you on the next Behind the Curtain adventure.